Greetings and welcome to Miles More Motivation, the show that's designed to give you more happiness, fulfillment, and obviously more motivation. In this episode, we're going to talk about what to do when you feel misunderstood. You know, if you're ever at a time in your life where you've got people around you that you feel just don't get you, they don't understand your dreams, they don't understand your goals, then I've got to tell you, I totally understand where you're coming from. I know what that feels like. And it can be really frustrating, especially if it's the people that are close to you. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 3 ways that you can deal with that feeling of being misunderstood and how you can use that as a force for good. But I want to kind of start by telling you a story. It goes back 17 years. I know I don't look old enough. You're like, Miles, you don't look a day over 20. I was working in Greece in a bar, age 20. Big shout out to my Cardamina Massive if you're watching, and it was a great experience. It was a wonderful time. I spent about 3 months out there, and on reflection, looking back, it was one of the best times of my life. And one of the things that was really interesting for me during that time was about that time that I started getting into personal development. And I remember being out there working in a bar, and during the day there was very little for us as workers, as we were called, to do. So if you weren't at a party in the day, if you weren't sleeping, then as a worker, there's only so much time you could spend at the beach. I don't think I was ever at the beach. Only so much time you can spend around the pool, because it's very different to being on holiday. And you became so used to it. You know, there's only so many episodes of Friends that I could watch in a bar in the daytime that I didn't get bored. And I actually went out there with a few books, and eventually by kind of week 4 or 5, I started to read, and I started to kind of really get into books around confidence and self-esteem and psychology and NLP, and reading stuff on Tony Robbins and Jim Rohn and Zig Ziglar, all the greats, right? And I'll never forget that there was a period in time where I was reading this particular book, and I can't remember what it's called, but it became a bit of a running joke. Miles reading his self-help books. And you know, people would kind of grab the book off me and read excerpts out of the book and kind of really quite ridicule and tease me for it. I'd carry on reading regardless, because I was very passionate about personal development back then, and hey presto, that's why I'm doing the work that I'm doing now. But it taught me some really valuable lessons about the fact that, you know, nobody else out there really, to my knowledge, that I knew of, was reading the kind of things I was reading. And I kind of felt misunderstood. I kind of felt a bit kind of, you know, I was wearing 2 hats. One hat was this party boy, and the other hat was this very spiritually deep person that wanted to really kind of understand himself and the world around him. You know, growing up without a father kind of left me with a lot of questions, and they were good questions. And so it led me to personal development. So if you're a kind of person that's ever felt a bit misunderstood, a bit like a square peg in a round hole, a bit like the black sheep, then this video is going to be really useful for you. So there's 3 things I want you to kind of think about in terms of how to connect better with people, what to do if you feel frustrated that people just around you don't seem to understand you, family, friends, and whatever. And so the first one is you need to adopt what we call a role model mindset. So you want to adopt what we call a role model mindset. What this effectively means is you want to be an example. So for me, working in Greece, reading that book, reading those books, I could have made the decision that, you know, if I carry on reading these books, it's going to break rapport with my friends. I should just be drinking alcohol and just kind of partying the time away while I'm in Greece. But I made the decision that, you know what, no, this area is important to me. I'm gonna be a role model. I'm gonna set the example, because I believe that what I'm reading is good for me, and I believe that what I'm reading is good for others. And the funny thing about that is, I remember years later, friends of mine that worked in those bars with me, several friends, not just people that work with me in Greece, I get messages saying, hey Miles, like, you know, I'm going through a bit of a challenging time, or I'm just experiencing this feeling and I'm not sure what to do about it. Is there a book that you would recommend that I read? And it felt like almost vindication that my decision to kind of live my truth, speak my truth, even at just 20 years old, was right. And I feel that if there's something that you believe in, if there's something that you want to stand up for, you need to speak your truth more. You need to stand up for what it is you believe in. And I especially want to challenge you to speak your truth more with the people that you feel misunderstood by. So I often have coaching clients that will say to me, you know what, Miles, I'll talk about my property journey with my property friends, but my family, they just don't get it. And I say, well, the fact is, if they are kind of asking questions or teasing, there's obviously part of them that's trying to understand, that's trying to connect with you. Otherwise, they just ignore it, right? If you start talking about property and I'm not interested in it, I'll just ignore it, right? So there's a big part of that that's really important, that you go, you know what, I'm gonna be a role model. I'm gonna set an example to the people around me who I feel misunderstand me. I'm gonna be a role model, and I'm gonna be a leader, and I'm gonna stand up for what I believe in, because that's important. Because you just make the decision, this is important to me, I'm gonna stand up for this, even if you don't believe in it as well. So that's the first one that's really important. Next is really about helping you better understand other people. And I've done a previous video, if you have a look at it, you'll find it somewhere on YouTube, about what we call the needs league order. So what this effectively means is, if you're familiar with Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, or Tony Robbins' human needs, the needs league order effectively means that we all have a certain set of kind of needs, desires and wants, but they're in a different order. The things that I need, that I desire, that I want, may be in a different order to you. I may prioritize certain things more. I may prioritize, my health more than you do. I may prioritize kind of career and mission. You may prioritize that more than me. We all have a different order of which our needs go in. So we'll have a kind of a league of needs, but the positions of those needs are in a different order. And so often the misunderstanding piece comes from the fact that what I value is different to what you value, or we both value it, but we value it in a different order. So it's so important to know the kind of surface level construct of feeling misunderstood. If you kind of scratch deeper than the surface, and this is a lot of, when I coach people, we go really deep on this, you will find that the order of which your needs are in, if somebody misunderstands you, if you feel like you don't connect with a person, then we're all effectively the same, but our needs order in our needs league is in a different sequence. And when you just are aware of that, you're like, the reason they don't understand me is because although we have the same needs, they're in a different order. Okay, so it's not that they're being rude, it's not that they don't care, it's not that they're kind of teasing, it's not that they're being nasty, it's that they just don't understand the order of my needs. They don't understand that my league of needs is in a different order to theirs. So that doesn't mean all of a sudden that you can all of a sudden magically fix that relationship and you're going to have a great connection with that person. But when you understand, it's kind of like what I said in the previous video, if you want to be understood, seek first to understand. Kind of think about, I wonder what is most important to them. So sometimes, for example, let me give you an example. A client comes to me and says, my family don't understand my property journey. And when we kind of chunk down, we realized that it was because my client had a real deep need for variety, for freedom, and her family were very set on certainty, 9 to 5, just do the way that the world has kind of told us to do. Go to work, come home, pay the bills, pay the mortgage, retire, and then you die. And they're so set in that way that her way kind of almost makes them feel a bit intimidated, because they think, does that mean our way's wrong? And she didn't realize that actually they were feeling like all of a sudden that they were bad, and that's why they were pushing back on her. And once she realized that, they were able to find common ground. So it's really important. And the last thing is what we call a peer group audit. Saying it as it is, it may just be that your peer group is no longer the right peer group for you to advance on the goals and dreams that you have. So what this effectively means is, as you move forward, as you grow, as you strive to improve, know that the people that you spend time with might not be the best group of people for you to advance on your goals and dreams. Jim Rohn says, your entire life is a direct reflection of the expectations of your peer group. He says you are some of the 5 people you spend the most time with. You spend time with 5 really super fit people, you'll become the 6th. You spend time with 5 entrepreneurial people, you spend time with 5 people that have deep, meaningful conversations, you'll be the 6th. You spend time with 5 superficial idiots, you get the gist, right? You will be the 6th. So it's so important that you think, you know what? There's only so long that I'm willing to be understood before I think maybe I need to change my peer group. And you may be going, but Miles, but we're talking about family here. What am I meant to do with my family? Well, I'm not saying that you should stop spending time with your family. If your family serve you in some way, then you definitely should. But that doesn't mean that you should, right? Because just because people are family doesn't mean that you have to spend time with them. But what it does mean is that if you do truly love them and they truly love you, but you just have a misunderstanding, if you want to improve that connection with them, then maybe find something that they have a real passion for, kind of really generate, even if it kind of, they just want to go out drinking, even if that's not something you want to do, maybe once in a while go out drinking with them and just have non-alcoholic drinks, but just do it because you want to show that you're willing to understand them. And you may find that then they're more willing to come towards you. But the moral of this is, I'm trying to say is, know that the people that you spend time with is who you become. So if you really want to be understood and you feel misunderstood, then it may be a case of that the people that you're spending time with are not in fact the right people for your next level of you. That's it. So I hope you found this video useful. If you have and you're watching it and you're like, Miles, I feel like I want to go deeper on this subject, book a coaching call with me, a complimentary coaching call. There's a link, I think, somewhere underneath the video. You can book a call with me. It's the same coaching that I do with MMA fighters, people that are in TV shows like X Factor, people that are in Hollywood movies as well. So go ahead, book a coaching call, complimentary. It's on me. And the last thing I'll say, go ahead, click like, click share, please tag people that you think will benefit from this video. This is not about me, this is about a big message, a really important message about helping people understand each other more. That's it. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, I'll see you